Welcome back, listeners. I'm David Hensley, captain of the SS Long Walk Talks Lost, currently docked near a strange island somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. I'm joined tonight by my bosun,
Cara Hayes,
and my first mate,
Robert Bradford, hard a port.
And one night I'm going to reverse those just to mess with you guys.
Great.
We are continuing our 20-year Lost retrospective by picking up where we left off last week, Season 4, Episodes 4, 5, and 6. And this week, we didn't have a themed meal, but we did have a themed drink. Robert, what did you bring for us?
I brought a bottle of 16-year-old Glenmorangie Scotch. It is just a nice bottle of Scotch that I bought to celebrate a happy professional event last month. And because we had a Desmond episode in the batch this week, and not just any Desmond episode, but one that is considered a highlight of the entire show, I wanted to just share my nice Scotch with my fine co-hosts and my spouse and David's spouse, who are also watching with us.
And as somebody who loves Scotch, it was fucking delicious. Thank you for that, Robert. And Cara, we'll make a refined woman out of you one of these days.
I mean, listen, if you can find one that doesn't make me, like shudder, more power to you. It's like finding a red wine that I like.
Oh, no. I gave up on wine a long time ago, especially red wine.
Well,
but
yeah.
Cara, we're going to have ample time and opportunity for you to try out different scotches coming up pretty soon.
Oh.
So, listeners, before we dive into this week's batch of episodes, when you're listening to this, the three of us will be on a freighter of our own. And by a freighter, I mean a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean. Hopefully not near... we're going to be docked on an island.
We're going to the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
So, can't lie, kind of.
Could experience time anomalies, memory displacement, who knows?
Are you kidding? I'm hoping for that.
Same, exactly. That's half the reason you go to Bermuda.
Right?
So, every night when we go to the bar... You can just try a different scotch every night. There was one night, me and our friend Charles decided that we were going to go through all the Glens.
Oh, yeah.
Glenmorangie, Glenfiddich. Robert, what am I missing? How many Glens are there?
Oh, there's a lot.
Glenn Campbell?
Yes, exactly.
So I can just taste all of yours, right? I don't have to order one.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
awesome.
We'll
This
just
is
turn
great.
and breathe on you after each sip, so you can kind of get the
my
sense
God.
of it there.
That's even better.
And there you go. All right, we're going to stop talking about liquor now, and we're going to dive into these next three episodes. That was not, no pun intended there, but I should have just taken the credit for it. We're going to start with episode 404, Eggtown, which is a Kate episode. You guys know how much we love Kate episodes on this show.
This one is better than most, I'll say.
Better, yes. Yeah. And it takes place over days 93 and 94 on the island. So we're a little over 3 months into their misadventures. And right off the bat, we get an eye watch when Locke wakes up in his bedroom in the barracks.
It's interestingly not the usual framing of the eye watch where, it's like a tight close-up of the person's eye opening straight into the camera. It's kind of at an angle. Locke isn't looking straight ahead. I'm wondering if they just did that because they didn't want people to think this was going to be a Locke episode. So they're like, it's an eye-opener, but not like this is our character for the show eye-opener.
Maybe.
I noted that this sort of feels like a callback to season 2 because Locke gets up, makes some food, and then takes it to the room where he has locked up Ben Linus so they can have their morning mind games. Just, throw back to the old Hatch days, which Ben very quickly calls out.
Yeah, miss that Hatch. At one point during their conversation together, Locke, in addition to breakfast, brings Ben a book that Ben says he's already read, and Locke tells him, you might catch something new the second time, which is basically what all of us are doing, honestly. This is my, second and a half, because the first time I rewatched the show, I got through the beginning of season 4, and I can't remember if we talked about this, but Robert, this is your, third rewatch?
I've watched the first 2 seasons at least 3 times before we'd started this rewatch, just because I would watch it with people who were starting it again. I don't think I've actually gone start to finish on season 4 through 6 since it aired the first time. Though I've watched clips and gone back and seen an episode here or there.
Right, same. And this is, as far as I'm aware, the 4th episode in a row. Now, I cannot remember the context. I can't remember what the exact line is. But this is the 4th episode in a row where one of the characters says the word lost. And it really just feels like the writers were having way too much fun with that at this point in the show for that not to be intentional. How many times can we work it into dialogue?
And how many times will people notice? So Kate's roommate is
Claire.
Who doesn't love having a 3-month-old for a roommate?
I mean, listen.
Well, not Claire, but Claire comes with the baby.
Well, yeah, unfortunately she does. But my issue, and I don't think I've brought it up till now because it's really just become apparent to me. I'm gonna need them to pick a baby. It is either a chubby baby or it is a skinny baby. But I don't like looking at it, if he's in this, then he's the chubby baby. And then over here, he's the skinny. Just pick a baby and stick with it. Please. It's killing me.
Stupid Hawaiian labor laws. They probably need to have like 8 babies.
I know.
Stupid baby continuity.
It's not right. I mean,
They need a baby supervisor on set just to make sure that the baby looks consistent between shots. They have script supervisors and all that stuff. Why not?
You can do the Clint Eastwood thing and just be like, screw it, we're using a doll.
I mean,
it makes for one of the most unintentionally hilarious scenes in American Sniper.
True. Very true.
It's my favorite Clint Eastwood story. The first baby's sick. What about the second baby? They couldn't make it. We'll use a doll. Are we going to try to keep the doll's eyes out of frame? No.
Oh, my.
Yeah, we get kind of the classic sort of tete-a-tete with Locke and Ben. Locke tries to be sort of high and mighty over Ben's situation, and Ben quickly picks apart Locke's psychological weaknesses. Ben almost looks a little disappointed by how easy it is at this point. Just to note that Locke didn't really have a plan beyond to go to the others' barracks, and then he was hoping Jacob at the cabin or somebody would give him a sign of what to do next.
Or Soggy Walt.
Or taller ghost Soggy Walt, yeah. And Ben is quickly pointing out, you don't have a plan, and you're scared that they're going to realize it.
Well, the flash forward plot of this episode involves Kate on trial for the various crimes that she committed, because it turns out just being trapped on an island for 3+ months isn't really enough for the American justice system to forgive you, which gives us the improbably named character, Robert.
I wrote down Judge Galzathrone is the name.
I think that's what we heard.
Yeah.
I think that's what the closed captioning said.
And I'll say great casting. The actor has great resting judge face. He gets to throw out all the cliches. I'm going to allow it, or you've got 5 minutes. Yeah, but I better see this better go somewhere fast. He plays the role very well. But I was just distracted because the judge sounds like a transformer.
Yeah, it really does. Transformers and Game of Thrones had a baby. That's weird. In Island Time, I guess we call it. They flip back, and Jin and Sun, Jesus God, are they just the cutest damn thing? How do you not love them?
I know, it's true.
I just love them so much.
I've forgotten how little they get to do in the first 6 episodes, because Sun makes a remark about getting to have her baby in a hospital. She and Jin get a reunion when the survivors meet up again, and then they have I think 1 scene each in this one and the 6th episode we do. But yeah, kind of sad to see them get kind of benched. I know there's a lot going on, but man, they're both so good with everything they get.
Well, I think it's in next week's batch of episodes that we get Sun's first flash forward episode, and the beginnings of the tragedy to come.
Oh no.
Sorry, Cara. We'll leave it at that.
Okay.
In the trial shenanigans, which Robert is going to spend some time going over the intricacies of, we see Kate's lawyer trying to talk to her about various ways they can run this case, which leads to another whoa moment when she tells her lawyer, I can't remember the exact quote, was it, I'm not going to let you use my son?
Yeah, because her lawyer wants to keep saying, we should have him in the courtroom. We need him to get the jury on your side. And it's ambiguous who they're talking about until Kate drops that bomb at the end.
Mm-hmm. Which makes her line at the end of season 3 make a lot more sense when she tells Jack in the flash forward, he's going to be wondering where I am. And most people, Gina included, thought that she was referring to Sawyer. No, she is referring to baby Aaron. Whoa. Which we're going to jump ahead a little bit to the end of the notes that I took, because that's the last thing you find out in this episode. But that makes Aaron Oceanic 6 survivor number 5. We just have to figure out who number 6 is at this point. Cara, do you remember who number 6 is?
Well, I'm thinking you just gave it away.
Probably.
when you said that later this season, Sun gets a flash forward.
But did you remember before he said it?
I did not.
And see, in a couple of episodes, they're going to mess with us in that regard, because episode 6 is a actual flashback episode. They break the narrative.
Oh.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes.
My son, whoa.
Oh, my.
So I'm not going to harp on this too much, but
No, I want you to.
Please.
it's just the nature of trial procedure in TV and film is that it happens however the drama needs it to happen. So, in the real world, trials happen according to very strict rules, and there's an order in which things have to happen. And yeah, in TV trials, it can be anything. So, for example, Kate's lawyer tells her that he's calling Jack to take the stand because the prosecutor really killed them on their opening. Because in this world, the prosecutor gives their opening, and then the defense starts calling witnesses. And it's not just like, 2 separate sections of a trial or anything. Also, that lawyer gets to surprise his own client with the witnesses he's calling. Surprise witnesses are not a thing. Like, legally, you can get disbarred if you try to hide evidence from the other side in a trial. And you can get disbarred really hard if you try to hide witnesses from your own client. So, not at all a thing that happens. I actually didn't get this on first view until I thought about it later, but the trial's happening in California, where most of Jack and Hurley have also settled after the coming back from the island. Kate is on trial for a murder she committed in, I want to say it was Iowa is where she's from. And while we know she committed a bunch of crimes across the state, if you commit murder, you go on trial in the jurisdiction where you committed the murder. So they should be flying her to Iowa for that. And, sure, she's committed federal crimes like bank robbing and probably all sorts of interstate shenanigans. But yeah, for the murder, this should not be happening in a California courtroom.
Huh. I never thought of that, but yeah.
Also, character witnesses don't really happen during the guilt-innocence phase of the trial. If you get a character witness at all, it's going to be after you've been convicted and your lawyer's trying to be like, please don't execute my client or send them to jail forever. They're so nice.
Oh.
Okay, but Robert, I am now going to need you to write a hard-boiled lawyer fiction novel and call it Disbarred Hard. Or a softcore erotica.
Wow.
Either or. Whatever allows you to use that title. So anyway.
Bailiff, I left my gavel at home today. Oh, you've got one right here, Your Honor.
Woo!
Smack it on my bench. So during Jack's surprise testimony, he tells Kate's lawyer and the jury that only 8 of us survived the crash. What?
It's another nice moment of them teasing out the fake story that the Oceanic 6 have concocted, because presumably this is a very well-known story. They're kind of celebrities in this world, so Jack doesn't have to do the start to finish, but he gives details of how he met Kate, saying the plane crashed in the water, saying they made it to shore because Kate survived them, claiming he was too injured to help other survivors after the crash. It's just, again, neat to see that taking shape just through characters saying things that, it's not the as you know Bob conversation. They're not giving other people information they already have, but what they tell us is still really tantalizing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely threw me for a loop.
Well, you had a question about the narrative that I don't...
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, well, because, it kind of threw me because it's the Oceanic 6, but he's saying 8 survived. So what happened to the other 2, and which 2 were they?
They're going to establish that later in the season, because we're going to get a flashback. Oh, it might actually be the beginning of next season. I don't remember. I think it's the beginning of season 5 where we get a flashback to Jack hammering out the story that they're going to tell people.
I think it's the end of this season, if I'm remembering correctly. But
Maybe.
Yeah, it's one or the other.
Yeah, and I can't remember exactly, but I think he says that Charlie was one of them and died, and maybe the marshal. I can't remember. What does he say during the trial?
No.
The marshal died.
The marshal
crash.
didn't survive the crash.
Okay, so yeah, I want to say the 8 are the 6 of them and Charlie and somebody else.
Possibly Jen.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
I'll
they will
hold that.
cover that at some point. I just don't remember when.
Good. At least I know I'll get a answer.
It's kind of funny. We talked about this way back when we mentioned, I think, our thoughts on Kate in the first season. The story that Jack tells of him being basically out of commission and Kate stepping up as like the leader and the protector of the other survivors is what the character was originally intended to be back when Jack was going to get killed by the monster at the end of the pilot, and Kate's whole character was built around being someone who has to step into the leadership role. And it's sort of sad that now that's just a big pack of perjury that Jack, pulls out on the stand when we all know, nope, that's not at all who Kate was on the island.
A big old pack of perjury could be the title of your second novel, Robert.
I wanted to use the line that I've been reading some reviews as we go along, and one person describes Jack perjuring his stubble off.
Oh, well, when it's the prosecuting attorney's chance to cross-examine Jack, she asks him one question and one question only. Do you love the defendant? And we get the classic, objection, I'll allow it. But it was at that point that despite everything Robert has already said, I was like, God, this is the dumbest fucking trial ever. Do you love the defendant?
So what I'm hearing is that if I ever get on a jury, because I really want jury duty, if anybody's listening that can make that happen, I would really love to have jury duty because I just am fascinated. But you're telling me it's not going to be like this. There's not going to be, any random surprise witnesses and...
It will get shut down very fast if it happens.
Oh. I don't have that kind of luck. Hell, I can't even get on a jury.
Which is funny because I was called for jury duty earlier this year, forgot about it entirely, called a week later. They rescheduled it. When it was time for me to call in, I wasn't needed. So I got off the hook.
And see, I actually got called and I got to sit in the little... whatever place they keep us, while they're picking people and shit and asking you questions. And I still didn't get picked. And I was very sad. I know I'm weird, but it's a thing. I don't know.
Well,
sorry.
It's okay. It wouldn't be a lost episode if we didn't get a Sawyer nickname watch. And this time we get 2 of them. He calls Miles Bruce Lee from the freighter, because there's still a little bit of a racist kick in Sawyer, despite all of his character development. And later in the episode, Montezuma for Hurley. Hurtful Sawyer. And we also see Kate successfully pull off a con, which I think might be the first time in this show's run, because the last time she successfully pulled off a con, it was actually Cassidy's idea. And like the last flashback episode that she had, I don't think thus far in the show any of Kate's cons have actually worked. But here she recruits Sawyer to help her get Ben out of captivity. We think Sawyer has betrayed her by going straight to Ben, or going straight to Locke to rat her out. But no, that was actually part of the plan to get Locke away from the house so she could talk to Ben. And it's like, wow, good for you. You picked up a thing or two.
I mean, a blind squirrel finds nut now and then.
Although now that I'm thinking about it, she did involve Sawyer in this plan, so I'm pretty sure her initial plan, or like her pitch to Sawyer was probably something like, I'm going to throw a grenade into Locke's house, and when it explodes, I'm going to dive through the window like an action movie heroine and kick down the door to Ben's cell so I can get in there and talk to him. And Sawyer was like, okay, all right.
What if?
Calm down. How about instead?
I know Locke's secret weakness, backgammon.
Well, I don't think anybody noted, or maybe I don't think anybody noted it. I know we discussed it. The shooting of the Locke, not John Locke.
Yeah, no, she gets Miles down there, and oh no, Locke has padlocked the room that he's keeping Ben in, and Kate fires a single bullet straight into the padlock, and it pops open.
What would happen in real life?
Well, the lock itself, if it actually broke, would be like mangled beyond use and probably not open.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was kind of thinking it might ricochet and shoot her.
also very
well.
likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Well, she takes Miles down there with her so that he can finally talk to Ben.
We do actually find out that Kate's side switching is not just her being kind of aimless as it has been in the past. She wants to talk to Miles so she can find out what the freighter knows about her, that if she's going to be treated like a fugitive the second she gets back on board, or if she might be able to blend in a little bit until she can escape. And Miles is like, I'll tell you that if you get me a minute with Ben Linus.
Yeah. And when we get that minute between Miles and Ben, Miles tells him that he's willing to lie to everybody in the freighter and by extension to Charles Widmore and tell them that Ben is dead for the paltry sum of $3.2 million. Fully like driving home how much has changed over the last
20 years.
17 years. In 2007, and I'm not saying this is a small amount of money. I'm not saying I would scoff at $3.2 million.
You turn it down.
No. But now that's a comically small sum to ask for.
Yeah, it'd be like $100 million or something
yeah.
like that.
It's a challenge for a TV writer because you don't want to pick a number you don't. If you say like $15,000, that sounds ridiculously small. But if you pick something like $50 million, it sounds ridiculous. And I think that's why writers love using decimals for these kinds of things because it sounds. And Ben calls him out. He's like 3.2. Why not 3.3 or 3.4? And it's implied that Miles has a specific reason, which I don't remember if we ever.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, to say something really specific, like, 6.5 million people will be killed if this bomb goes off. $3.2 million. It makes the audience feel like, oh, this is very specific. It's not too large. It's not too small. It's got a decimal.
Yeah.
The plan is kind of weird because what we eventually find out is that, really by the end of this episode, that Charles Widmore has gone to extreme amounts of time, expense, and effort to get his people here, and that Ben Linus is his primary target. And I don't know what Miles thought, that he would just go back to the boat and Martin Keamy would be like, oh, he's dead? All right, boys, unload your guns, take off your gear. I don't know how Miles thought that would work out. I'm perfectly comfortable thinking that Ben is just seeing this as a momentary advantage and doesn't expect it to play out for him in the long term. But yeah, what Miles thinks he's going to come out of this, I'm not sure. We also get something that they've been doing a lot this season, which is TV shorthand. If you know someone's middle name, you know everything about them. So when Miles says, yeah, we know who you are, Catherine Ann Austin, oh, dang, they know everything. We saw Ben do it earlier when he talked about Charlotte Staples Lewis. I think there's another one later on in episode 6, but I'm drawing a blank on what it is. But they do a lot of... No, Ben's going to do it later when he reads off Keamy's service record. That just sort of... Yeah, if you know someone's middle name, then you have their whole life unlocked, according to a TV writer.
I really wish I had written down the full list of Kate's offenses, because Miles starts to list the whole thing and then just tapers off. But at the beginning of the episode, we do hear the full list of everything that Kate is on trial for, and it's rather hilarious. I'm surprised there was even the pretense of a trial. They should have just sent her straight to jail for the rest of her life.
Well, I mean, it is why her lawyer is saying you need, a plea deal is your best option here, and 7 years in jail is the absolute best you can hope for.
Well, as part of that ongoing effort to lessen Kate's sentence, he brings in their prosecution's star witness, Kate's own mother, which brings us back Aunt Zelda.
Yay!
I keep forgetting that she's actually Kate's mom because, Aunt Zelda is just how we think of her.
To the point where I can't remember that actress's name.
Beth Broderick.
There we go. Thank you.
I didn't know she had a name.
Yeah, she's just
Aunt Zelda.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. By the way, another TV law. The prosecutor should have been putting barbed wire between Kate and her star witness. You do not let the defendant talk to the person who's going to be the linchpin of your entire case, especially not with any other lawyers in the room, or without any other lawyers in the room.
Well, that I didn't note it, but it this made me think of it. I feel like the little plea deal that, the little, let's do this, let's do that. I feel like she got off really light for all the shit she did.
Oh yeah, extremely. It's a complete sweetheart of a deal, though.
First-degree manslaughter, anybody?
I mean, would
Sorry,
she
Robert.
get 10 years probation?
Yeah, I think 10 years
Cripes.
probation and she can't leave the state. But apparently it sounds like the only evidence they actually had of her killing her dad was that she confessed to her mom about it. So without that testimony, it really does look like he might have just blown up in a gas leak. So, yeah. Now, granted, they've got her dead to rights on all the other crimes she committed afterwards, but it's another thing of TV and film law. If you're not guilty of the original crime, any crimes you commit while you're a fugitive from justice don't count.
Yeah, because the shooting of her ex-boyfriend would have counted as what? Second-degree murder? Third-degree?
I guess felony endangerment maybe because she was fleeing from law enforcement when that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, then the bank robbery itself would be a huge part of it. That right there would be 10 years in prison.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is a nice kind of character moment that her lawyer's trying to talk the plea down even more to argue that no, she shouldn't be restricted from leaving the state. And Kate says she doesn't care and is willing to take the deal as soon as they have something that doesn't include jail time. And for Kate, whose whole thing is she tries to run away from everything at the first opportunity, to suddenly not care about being restricted in that way, it's a nice okay, so this is her change after the crash. And unlike where we've seen Jack and Hurley, maybe she's actually become a better person since getting off the island.
Well, being a mom will do that to you.
Yeah. We also get a nice little moment on the beach with Charlotte and Faraday kind of hanging out, and it's a little thing where Charlotte's putting some cards face down and Faraday's trying to remember what they are, indicating that his kind of spaciness and just general air of
Aloofness.
being a little bit off might not just be, oh, he's an eccentric genius. He may genuinely be dealing with some mental issues that we haven't really teased out yet. I mentioned that, Kate is someone who always runs away. So Locke basically kicks her out of the barracks after finding out what she did. Sawyer says he'll argue for her to stay, but she decides to leave the next morning. And Sawyer gets kind of a funny line, a cruel but funny line, where he points out that 2 days from now she's probably going to find something to get mad at Jack for and come back to him.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth noting that this is after she went back to Sawyer's room at the barracks and went to Pound Town.
Well, they didn't, because Sawyer explicitly says
That's right.
That's right.
They just fooled around a little, but Kate's been worried about getting pregnant ever since I guess finding out that pregnant women die on the island. So,
legit.
Yeah. But just playing kind of like that Sawyer is now kind of loathing himself a little bit for being so stuck on Kate. And he's kind of throwing that out at her. Sawyer's another character who I don't think he gets a flashback or anything this season, but it's nice to that Josh Holloway still finds those moments.
Yeah, and who can blame him, really? Because she's the worst.
I mean, almost.
And then I brought it up earlier, but we get confirmation that Kate's son is in fact Aaron. Why is he with her and not with Claire? Did Claire make it off the island? Is Claire even alive? How is Kate passing Aaron off as her son? We don't know yet. Whoa. But he is Oceanic 6 survivor number 5. And Robert, you made a good point here.
I'd forgotten about this, but yeah, Aaron is Jack's nephew because Claire's his half-sister. And
he doesn't know that.
I don't think he does.
Yeah.
Not yet, at least. I think he finds out. Well, he finds out later in the show.
Yeah,
So
Claire's mom eventually makes contact with the Oceanic 6. So at some point he finds out.
Because we find out from Kate that Jack has not wanted to see Aaron since they've, I guess, tried to be together and then broken up. It's not clear yet exactly what has happened in the time since they got back from the island. Yeah, fun stuff. Well, we're done with the Kate episode.
Thank
It's
God.
time to move on to episode 205, The Constant. What is universally regarded as one of the best episodes of this entire show. And
Oh my! I literally didn't take a single note until the very end.
We didn't take a whole lot of notes for this episode, and I feel
It was
like
so good.
it makes for good show watching, but bad podcasting. Whenever the three of us get so invested in an episode, we forget to take notes about it. But yeah, this episode absolutely lives up to the hype. I jumped the lead here a little bit. It's day 94, and it's a Desmond episode. In fact, I think it's easy to say that this is the Desmond episode.
And it's not like his last episode wasn't already one of the best ones in season 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that everything Desmond related is pure gold on this show. The episode starts, so we kind of glossed over all the on-island stuff in episode 4, but Jack does find out when they contact the freighter that despite leaving the evening before, the helicopter has not made it to the freighter yet, which is weird. It should have taken them, what do they say, 40 minutes?
If that, yeah.
Yeah. So this episode begins with Saeed and Desmond on the helicopter with Lapidus on the way back to the freighter. And they start flying into a storm, and Saeed becomes a literal backseat pilot, driver, whatever you want to call it here.
No. Yeah.
No.
It's not an unreasonable question. He's asking Frank, why are you flying straight into what looks like a thunderstorm? And Frank has been told by Faraday, stay on the exact bearing no matter what to get off this island. But yeah, he has to deal with a lot of crap when he's just trying to fly his helicopter this episode.
Yeah. And going into the storm triggers something in Desmond because much like when he was recovering from the explosion of the hatch, Desmond is unstuck in time once again, flashing back and forth between 2004 and 1996.
It is still such a great moment because the first flashback happens kind of in the middle of the turbulence. And Desmond seems a little disoriented. And then in the flashback, he's talking about being on a helicopter. And, it's always been a little coy in the show if, like, when the characters look off into the distance when the flashback sounds, are they actually thinking about the memory that we're going to see? Like, how much does that... But here Desmond's actually, like, remembering what we were just watching in the scene before. And he comes out of the flashback literally in the middle of the sentence back into the helicopter where he's panicking because he doesn't recognize these two people that he's in a helicopter with or have any idea how he got there. And it's such a, it's still just a great jarring moment because we know how this formula works. Even when they're doing flash forwards, there's supposed to be this neat segregation between, the memory and the present of the show. And to have a character who's actually getting yanked across that and who's left part of himself behind maybe, it's even before the Lost title card, it's such a great uncharted territory moment.
And Robert, that's a great point about like characters looking off in the distance. It reminds me, the two of you ever seen Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story?
I need to.
I love that movie. I didn't think I would because I'm such a huge Johnny Cash fan, so I thought a parody of Walk the Line would just piss me off. But no, it's one of the best parodies ever made. And the opening of that movie, spoiler alert for listeners and for Robert, parodies the opening of Walk the Line, which is Johnny Cash getting ready to go do like a concert at Folsom Prison. Here it's Dewey Cox about to do a prison concert, and the warden tries to talk to him, and somebody stops the warden. He's like, sorry, Dewey Cox can't go on stage until he's stopped and thought about everything that's ever happened to him before.
I've heard that quote.
And thus setting up the rest of the movie. But yeah, we can't have an episode of Lost without a character stopping to think about everything that has ever happened to them related to this moment.
Wait, you don't do that?
Constantly. That's why these podcasts take 7 hours before I edit them down for the listeners.
But yeah, poor Frank, because he had to deal with Saeed's backseat driving, and then Desmond, who, again, comes out of his flashback. We don't know what it is yet. In a state of panic, actually tries to wrestle with Frank for the controls briefly, and Saeed has to restrain him, which, again, the guy's just trying to get back to the freighter and put his helicopter down.
Thank God he's a great pilot.
Yeah, and I know that in this moment, to quote What We Do in the Shadows, Desmond's got the brain scramblies, but if I suddenly came to and didn't know where I was in a helicopter, I don't think my first instinct would be to fight the pilot for control of that helicopter.
I mean, you have to just imagine, maybe he doesn't know what a helicopter is at that. I mean, I would hope.
We're in a giant bird in the sky.
Yeah.
Somebody take the controls.
Kill the pilot.
Well, eventually they do set down on the freighter because, by his own admission, Lapidus is a great pilot. And as they're getting off, we get our butt holster check-in of the episode as Saeed puts that pistol right down the center of his back.
Yay.
And we get to meet another new character, Martin Keamy, who we're all going to come to love on this show and get really excited for every appearance that he makes coming up.
A character who will make an impact.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting that. Thank you, Robert. Played by excellent character actor Kevin Durand, who was also, Robert, in a movie that I watched last night, the new Naked Gun.
Yes, he is.
Yes, I want to talk to you about that afterwards. But listeners, we were just talking about parodies. If you love a good one, if you're a fan of the Naked Gun series, it's well worth checking out.
There's a great scene where, Kevin Durand is in a hospital bed, and we get the scene where the cop tough talks a suspect, and it just goes off the rails in this hilarious way.
Yes.
He and Liam Neeson play off each other very well.
In fact, let's throw out the rest of these episodes and just talk about the Naked Gun.
I will probably find something to reference in all of our remaining episodes of this podcast.
Fantastic.
But no, Keamy, it's a great intro because he seems friendly enough. Like he's, welcoming them back. And when he realizes something's on with Desmond, he makes sure he can get checked out by the ship's doctor. But he has this way of smiling and like curling his upper lip back all the way to show his teeth. That's not hostile, but just feels really kind of menacing. So it's a great, like, creepy without being able to put your finger on exactly why way of being. We also get, when they get to the medical bay or wherever the ship's doctor is set up, we finally meet George Minkowski, who's been the voice on the radio for a couple of episodes, but now we see him in person, and he's played by Fisher Stevens, who is had such an incredible career as a character actor that people have entirely forgiven him for that time when his most famous role was playing an Indian character in Brownface in Short Circuit.
Oh, man.
Yeah, do you remember that movie, Short Circuit? Steve
Are you
Guttenberg?
kidding? I was alive when that came out.
Yeah.
But all I remember is Ali Sheedy and a robot.
That's fair.
Hold on a moment. Y'all keep talking
And the
for a
song.
minute.
The song was great. Who's Johnny? Or something like that.
Well, I love this next note that you took, Robert, because every once in a while the three of us will be simpatico.
Yeah, I'm holding up a picture so Kara can see him in his darkened face.
Oh, my.
Not his fault. Really, it was the script, and it was a time where Hollywood did this kind of terrible thing all the time. But yeah, he's much better in this role.
Oh, yeah, very much so. So to take notes, the three of us have a shared note app since we all have iPhones. And every once in a while, we can, it's not like real time exactly that we can see the other people taking notes. But both Robert and I, at the same time, started typing out the next quote. And he was a little bit ahead of me. I saw that he was already writing it, so I stopped. But Robert, lay this one on us.
So they get back in contact with the beach and explain what's going on with Desmond, and Faraday quickly recognizes it and starts explaining what he understands of what's going on and asks Jack, has your friend Desmond recently been exposed to high levels of radiation or electromagnetism?
And both of us went, well...
How high is a buttload of electromagnetism?
Well, and for the first but not the last time, we get the show's proper introduction to time travel.
Yay, my favorite subject.
Yep, a long-standing theory about what was going on in this show or where it was eventually going to go, and now confirmed that, they are time traveling.
So-
Well, certain characters are. And because Desmond had already kind of sort of been doing it, and here it's really a topic of discussion, especially where it involves Daniel Faraday.
Because Faraday just kind of immediately leans into I think what's called the bootstrap paradox, the idea of like going back and causing the thing that lets you do what you do in the future anyway.
Which I hate. We could do an entire episode about the things I despise about fictional time travel. Fictional time travel, not like real time travel exists.
You
as far
don't
as
know
we
that.
know. The bootstrap paradox drives me insane.
And for my dumbass,
So think of it as a guy is trying to invent a time machine in his lab, and then there's a flash of light, and another version of him appears and is like, "Hi, I'm you from 2 hours in the future. I've just finished drawing up these blueprints for a time machine. Here they go. Take 2 hours, build this, and then come back and give them to yourself. And so the guy does it, spends 2 hours building his time machine, and then exactly 2 hours in the future, he jumps back, sees the younger version of himself, and goes, hey, here are the blueprints. So it's a stable loop. Like, everything that the guy in the future does fits into what the guy in the past experienced. But the problem is, where did the blueprints come from in the first place? Like, they come from the guy in the future, but where could he have gotten them? It's another, probably the most famous pop culture example is John Connor sends Kyle Reese back to get his mom pregnant so John Connor can exist. How did that ever happen before John Connor sent his father back?
See, okay, we're gonna dive into this because I hate it. The fandom, and in fact, James Cameron himself treat this stable loop theory, the bootstrap paradox, as canon. That John knew he was sending Kyle Reese back in time to become his father. No. John sent Kyle as a random soldier that he picked to go back in time to protect his mother from the Terminator that had just been sent back in time by Skynet. Listeners, we're off on a completely different tangent now, but this is what happens when I start talking time travel. This is it. It's not possible. By sending both two of them back, they negate the original timeline, in which Sarah Connor had sex with some random fucking dude, produced John Connor, who would later grow up to survive the nuclear apocalypse, rise up, become the leader of the resistance, overthrow Skynet, then send Kyle Reese back in time to become his father. But he couldn't have known that, sending him back in time the first. So after that, yes, you create a stable time loop. But we never talk about the timeline A of it all.
Yeah.
It's kind of that spectrum of, how does science fiction writers treat time travel? Can you go back and change things? Or if you go back, will the things you do always have been part of history?
As they say in Avengers Endgame, you're telling me Back to the Future was bullshit?
Well, I like that they kind of address that in this episode, because Faraday says, you can't change anything.
Yeah, so what he does is he tells Desmond to go back and find him, because in 1996, Faraday was a professor at Oxford, and he happened to be working on time travel in a way that he would have been very excited to meet Desmond. And present-day Island Faraday gives Desmond a set of technical instructions to tell his younger self, and says, if I don't believe you after that, tell me you know about Eloise, who turns out to be the rat that Faraday is experimenting on. We eventually learn, named after his own mother.
Not a weird thing to do at all. Name your rat after your mother.
And so it's not clear if Faraday only is able to get his machine working because of the instructions that Desmond gives him, or if that was something he would have gotten to on his own, and he basically just got a shortcut.
Yeah, I believe in the shortcut theory.
Oh.
Again, taking it back in time to Terminator. I promise this is going to be... I can't promise you that. Never mind. This might be the last time we bring up Terminator and time travel. It's established in the second movie that Skynet was created a full 2 years earlier than original because Cyberdyne ended up with the computer chip and the arm of the Terminator from the first movie. So yes, I like the Faraday stumbled into time travel because of Desmond's mind becoming unstuck in time.
Huh.
We also have the fact that Faraday doesn't recognize Desmond when they meet on the island could be explained by, again, we talked about it already, the sort of spaciness that he seems to have as a result of possibly his experiments with radiation and magnetism. There's a funny moment where, because Minkowski is basically suffering seizures and eventually dies of an aneurysm in front of Saeed and Desmond because he's experiencing the same phenomenon and he has no way out of it. He's just dropping off to other times, and each time he comes back, his body and brain are breaking down more and more. So Island Faraday sends Desmond to meet Oxford Faraday to help him out, but Oxford Faraday assumes that his future self just sent Desmond with some helpful science notes. He's like, how am I supposed to help you? Like, why wouldn't I just help you in the future? What's that about? Which is he says, didn't I send you back here to help me? Because he just has that hilarious scientist tunnel vision.
Well, when it becomes clear that they have to do something to save Minkowski, and Desmond from the brain scramblies. They need to get out of the medical bay, even though Kimi had locked the door. However, they turn and look, and now the door is mysteriously ajar, leading Minkowski to say, "Looks like you guys have a friend on this boat," which is our second hint that there is another friendly party on the boat. After Ben outright tells them, "I have a man on their boat" at the end of episode 2. Who could it be? Well, if you've been paying attention to the credits, you might have a good idea of who that mysterious third party is. He keeps getting credited, still hasn't fucking shown up yet.
So eventually Faraday explains to Desmond that the only way to stabilize himself is to acquire his constant. He needs something that is present both in 1996 and in 2004 that can anchor him in time and get him out of this, because eventually his brain is going to shred itself if he keeps hopping back and forth. So he needs to find Penny. But this is just after he dumped her to go join the army. She's changed her number. He doesn't know where she lives. So he goes to find her father, Charles, who is doing that thing that rich bastards love to do, hanging out at an auction, bidding on ancient ship stuff.
And what is that ancient ship that has some items up for auction? The Black Rock.
Yay!
What is it? The ledger from the Black Rock, something like, or the manifest?
Yeah, so it was like there was a painting, but then there was also like I think it was the captain's log.
Yeah.
And something about like nobody had ever read it except for, the guy that bought it or something like that. And I don't know, it was weird.
Well, it's a nice early indicator of why Widmore would want to be after the island, because it's not until the next episode that we establish. No, it is this episode, isn't it? That we establish that it is Widmore who sent the freighter.
I think it's the next one because Ben shows Lock the Tape.
That's right. Okay, so yeah, we're still one episode away. So viewers first time might be wondering, well, that's a mighty cosmic coincidence. Desmond's ex-girlfriend's dad is at an auction bidding on this thing that we know crash landed on the island, but really he is, I guess, looking for any single thing that he can related to the island, including they name drop Tovard Hanzo.
Who I think was the guy who recovered the ledger, or
yes, something like that. Yeah.
And we know that it hasn't really been brought up in a while, but Alvar Hanso, back in the intro, like the Dharma intro video back in season 2, was the guy who funded the Dharma initiative, basically. So if you played that like Lost online game that was a big thing while the show was airing, he had this whole backstory of like trying to track down the numbers and all that. So again, yeah, a lot of little continuity happening in 1996. But back in the present, we do have to say goodbye to Minkowski, because without a constant, he dies, and he dies with some really painful looking like aneurysm acting. Just it's again, we don't get much time with Fisher Stevens on screen, but yeah, just Minkowski seems like a nice guy, and that's just a sad way to go, it seems like.
Well, somebody on this freighter went to the trouble of disabling all of their communications equipment, but Saeed, thankfully, is able to step in and jury-rig a phone for Desmond.
And by the way, Saeed is such a good friend, because Desmond's just like, I need to make a phone call, and Saeed's like, cool, I'll grab some stuff. And this is after he's been like getting physical with members of the freighter crew to try and protect Desmond. Like he is so supportive of this guy who is going through all this stuff right now. It's just a very nice, reflects nicely on him.
It really does.
And so we get to cut between, because Desmond doesn't have the number yet, but he jumps back again to finding, because Charles Widmore does give him Penny's address, thinking that she will just tell Desmond to piss off because she hates him. And she's about to, but Desmond manages to convince her to let him into the apartment, and with tears in his eyes, he basically just begs her, give me your number, keep it for 8 years, I will call you on Christmas Eve 2004. And Penny, not really even seeming to know why she agrees, does so. And so Desmond, when he gets back to the freighter, he's got the number, which he can give to Saeed. Saeed makes the call, and we hear Penny pick up. And something that happened like 3 minutes apart for Desmond was 8 years later for Penny. And, just heartbreaking acting of these two.
I don't think there was a dry eye in my house. Did Gina break?
I think I was probably more teared up than she was, but
I got teared up. I want to say Katie did too. Cara, you looked like you were tearing up over there.
Well, yeah, because I think next to Jin and Sun, they are my favorite on-screen in Lost couple.
Yeah, and famously, you love feeling emotions.
I hate them.
I didn't think about this as we were watching it, but in the end of season 2, we find out that Desmond found a letter from Penny that she hid in like the Charles Dickens book he was reading, saying that she would always wait for him and she would always love him. The version of Desmond we're seeing now, who's been unstuck in his 1996 memories, doesn't know about that letter. As far as he knows, when he dumps Penny in 96, she's never going to want to think about him or have anything to do with him again, which makes it really all the more beautiful as a romantic leap of faith that back then he's still like, she's the one. She's the one I'm gonna try for. Like, if I had to say in one sentence why this is like the show at its best, it takes the story of a man who stepped away from the woman he loved and realized that was a mistake and needs to get back with her, and then it's all wrapped in this time twisty genre island craziness, but it really is just about two people who are meant to be together, overcoming obstacles with their love. And there's something so human and so relatable about that it just carries you through all of the contrived craziness of time travel. Like, at its best, the show does that with all of its great characters, with Jack's need to be a hero without knowing how, Locke's need for a destiny, Sawyer's need to escape the pain and trauma of his childhood, just all this human stuff. And like, if there's a scene that just boils all that down more than Penny and Desmond crying over the phone and promising that they're going to find each other again, I don't know.
Robert, you big old softy.
Yeah.
Well, Cara, take us out here with this last note.
Yeah, well, so that brings us to our final revelation for this episode. As Faraday is flipping through his notebook, and he flips to a page that says, Desmond Hume will be my constant. And I just wrote, what?
Yeah, we don't know the full extent of what's going on with Faraday yet. That's coming up. But yeah, it is a great cliffhanger to end this episode on. And I was about to say, well, my rant and rave about time travel as it relates to the Terminator franchise, I feel like put us off a little bit. And I was going to say, let's just speed through what we all agreed to kind of be a filler episode with the next one. And then I looked and I realized we actually took a bunch of notes about this one, reaffirming what I said earlier, that really great episodes, we tend not to take a lot of notes because we get invested. The so-so to bad episodes, we end up with a shitload of notes just because we're like picking them. We tend to pick them apart a little bit more.
If I'm thinking, what am I going to say about this moment on the podcast? I'm not really in the moment.
Right. So we're going to talk about episode 406, The Other Woman, which is a Juliet episode taking place over days 94 and 95.
Other woman. Get it?
Yeah. Fuck, Robert. I didn't even think about that. This is why we keep you on this show. I was about to say, knowing what we found out last episode, that makes day 95, a.k.a. the back half of this episode, Christmas Day. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Good wind roasting on an open fire. Well, it got skewered anyway.
Yeah. We open the episode with Juliet in therapy on the island, which I guess is just part of initiation. And this is a weird thing to say, but was anyone else weirded out by Juliet and lipstick?
It's strange to see. I mean, we kind of got used to it because we met her when we saw the others living, comfortable home lives and all that. But yeah, she's been getting more grungy with the rest of our survivors ever since she left their group.
Yeah, she went from the barracks to hard living on the beach. And that's just kind of what I associate with Juliet. Not in a nice house, in a nice dress with lipstick on.
And fluffy curly hair and
yeah,
nice clothes.
Well, after 4 episodes of flash forwards and 1 of unstuck in time travel shenanigans, we get our first actual flashback of the season, kind of breaking what they've established for the last 5, 6, 7 episodes, starting with the season 3 finale with flash forwards that we didn't know were flash forwards. Now we're back to the flashback structure, finding out more than we probably needed to about Juliet's early time on the island.
Yeah, and we get, some visits from the old favorites, like Tom Friendly shows back up, literally opening the door to Juliet's house and, sticking his head in as if he's a sitcom character about to get applause. And I gave it to him because, love seeing
MC Gainey.
MC Gainey, there we go. I want to say R.J. Ermey, and I was like, no, that's not him.
No, Arlie Ermey was a Marine drill instructor and movie star.
But yeah, this episode kind of reminds us that after that Richard and the rest of the others are still camped out somewhere on the island, and I'm not going to get too far into it, but it makes me think of how weird it is that there is just a faction of, like a third faction of people. Like Jack's got his guys, Locke has his group, and there's a third group out there that knows the island and all its secrets better than either of them, and it's really weird that nobody's trying to reestablish contact with them. Like how much the others are not really a factor in how the rest of this season goes down.
Yeah, and we find this out because in the middle of the night, Faraday and Charlotte go missing, and Jack and Juliet go running off after them, and there's a moment where Juliet hears the voices in the woods, and oh, it's the others, or it's the smoke monster. No, it's her therapist, Harper.
I mean, terrifying enough in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
Dr. Angry Eyes.
Yeah, she just appears and delivers some cryptic shit about having to kill Charlotte and Faraday.
Because they're going to the Tempest.
Yes. And then when Jack shows up and pulls a gun on her, they get distracted, and then Harper just sort of disappears. Did I actually take this note, or did I just say it out loud? That is being a ninja part of other training?
Oh, I think you did just say that out loud.
Yeah, I thought I wrote it down. But yeah, these motherfuckers can just come and go like ninjas dropping. They don't even need smoke bombs.
I was going to say, they should at least have a smoke bomb to make that vanish.
That's the difference between a ninja and a magician.
Yeah, I want smoke bombs.
We'll get into it more. This episode is not my favorite take on Ben Linus. I don't think it presents the most interesting version of the character, but yeah, the idea that he's been like beaten senseless by Jack and then by Sawyer, and now he is tied up in Locke's basement. But don't worry, Harper assures us, Ben is right where he wants to be. I just don't find that interesting. I like Ben when he really is on his back foot and is like scrambling to keep ahead by his wits. And yeah, the idea that actually this is all going perfectly according to his plan just feels like it diminishes him by making him greater in the way that like shaky writing sometimes does. But like I said, we'll get into that later. We do flash back to Juliet meeting Goodwin for the first time, where he says he's looking for some gauze because what's his excuse? He just says he burned his hand on like a stove, or his arm on a stove.
Or a steam pipe or something.
Yeah, steam pipe. And Juliet gets him the gauze, but says, I know a chemical burn when I see one. You know, like all fertility doctors do.
Well, at one point she went through medical school, and I'm sure, there's like a whole unit on chemical burns.
And how to recognize when you're being lied to about them.
Oh, yeah, that's day one.
This is the weirdest meet cute, I think, on the entire show, because these two actors do have a lot of chemistry together, but just what a weird way to set them up. So Kate, on her way back from the barracks, does run into Faraday and Charlotte in the woods and is immediately suspicious of them. And despite being armed herself and seeing that they are armed and have already lied to her, she decides to crouch down to get water from the creek and turn her back to them. And Charlotte gets to do what we've all wanted to do at some point in the show, which is hit Kate across the back of the head.
Well, it's weird because she clearly knows they're lying to her about what they're doing in the woods, and she gets down and she sees the gas masks in the bag that they're dragging around. And instead of immediately stepping back, drawing her gun, and keeping a healthy distance with both of them in her sight, yeah, she just kind of smugly turns to ask Faraday these questions and entirely puts her back to Charlotte. It's just, I don't know if Evangeline Lilly could have played that in a way, but Kate just seems so pleased with herself for figuring it out while also doing absolutely nothing to stop them from knocking her out and taking off.
The only explanation is that the actress who plays Charlotte looks so non-threatening that I wouldn't immediately assume that she would hit me over the back of the head with a gun with enough force to knock me out.
Maybe.
Yeah, sure. That's giving her way too much credit.
People thought that about the actual C.S. Lewis too, and then he bludgeoned one of the Inklings with a dictionary over a pint of ale. C.S. Lewis lore for the nerds.
Thank you, Robert. I think that's you. Or is it?
Kate being a rotten detective.
Oh, yeah.
is just-
Yeah.
Well, and immediately after that, I put down, Harper is a rotten therapist.
Well, not only that, she's terrifying looking.
Well, she is.
The actress just has these very like plucked but naturally arching eyebrows that make it look like she's glaring at everybody she's talking to.
And it was network television, so you couldn't get away with it. But her next session that we see with Juliet basically boils down to her going, "Are you fucking my husband? How long have you been fucking my husband?" Well, Juliet tries to look sweet and innocent. And Harper's like, no, I know you're fucking my husband. No, just replace all of that with like ABC level in 2007. And it's just a very uncomfortable scene to watch.
She also indicates that Ben has an attraction to Juliet and mentions, "That's no surprise, you look just like her," which doesn't really go anywhere. I think back in Ben's flashback episode, there was like a young girl that he was friends with when he was a kid on the island, and apparently the plan was for her to get mentioned a few times and then eventually come back into the story. Never ended up happening, so maybe it's the fact that Juliet looks kind of like the actress who played Ben's mother, who was played by the real-life wife of Michael Emerson, which is even weirder and creepier than what they intended at the time they were writing this. I don't know.
I don't either. But back on the island, well, no, this has all been on the island technically, but in present time on the island, earlier in the episode, we see Locke skinning a rabbit. Cara just pulled a sad face on us. She has her own pet rabbit, but yours doesn't have a number on it, so it's fine.
No.
And this is our first, or not our first, but another little inkling that perhaps John isn't the leader he thinks he is, because he gets confronted by Claire about what they're doing, and John really doesn't have a good answer for her. But later in the episode, he brings that cooked bunny to Ben for a meal, and Ben looks at it and goes, "This didn't have a number on it, did it?" Which is a nice little callback to the beginning of season 3, where he pulled the bunny with the world's tiniest pacemaker trick.
The most adorable con accomplice on the show.
It really is, and it's still hilarious to me that Sawyer fell for that.
Yeah, Locke tries to kind of get the upper hand on Ben by poking fun, because he knows about the offer that Miles made. He ridicules the idea that Ben could get his hands on $3.2 million, takes a crumpled dollar bill out of his pocket, puts it next to Ben and goes, "Here, this will get you started." And it's like, Locke hasn't been carrying money since the plane crash. How hard did he have to look through the barracks, like people's sock drawers and everything, just to find a dollar bill so he could make this bit land?
Then again, it's not like any of them have been spending the cash they brought with them on the plane. I imagine that all of them probably have money socked away somewhere. Probably on the beach. But, yeah.
Never thought about that.
But yeah, overall, all the flashbacks that are just about like the petty romantic foibles of the others just kind of cements what season 3 did a little bit, which grinds out the mystique of this group. Like, ooh, the natives of the island, they can vanish into the jungle. Look how terrifying Ethan is, and they could be anybody. And now it's just like, yeah, let's have an episode about how, Juliet is sleeping with her therapist's husband, and oh no, their boss might not like it because he likes Juliet. It's a big RIP to everything that was cool about the others in seasons 1 and 2.
At one point, so the whole thing with Harper confronting Juliet, where she's like, "I know that you're sleeping with my husband. How long have you been sleeping with my husband?" ends with her basically threatening Juliet into calling it off. But then the next flashback we see is them having a nice little romantic getaway on the beach, complete with a bottle of wine. It's like, wow, you really did not take that to heart, did you, Juliet?
Nope.
And we eventually catch up to the scene that opens season 3, where the others look up to see Flight 815 breaking up in the sky above the island, and Ben dispatching Ethan and Goodwin to go search it. We hear Ethan mentioned a bunch, although William Mapother doesn't appear. I don't think even in archive footage. But I just remember what a cool opening that was, and now we get like new scenes of like Juliet and Harper and Goodwin all trading significant looks because, love triangles, that makes everything richer.
Yeah, this island loves a horny love triangle.
Maybe that's the whole purpose of the island. It's like love triangle rhombus island.
Love triangle island.
Yeah.
That's the real reason Faraday was telling Frank to fly out on the Pacific Bering. You're on a helicopter with 3 people. If you don't want to fall in love with at least one of them, you've got to fly out on this exact bearing.
That was a beautiful impression.
Wow.
Listeners can't hear it, but I'm trying to kind of crane my neck and do sort of the head movements that Faraday does.
Yeah, and you have a good point there, because Lapidus was on a helicopter with 2 of the most attractive men on the island.
No doubt.
I mean, if you could not avoid falling in love with Desmond or Saeed after 5 minutes with them, then you're a stronger person than I.
No doubt.
Things do pick up a little bit because Ben convinces Locke to let him out of the basement and shows him a tape of Charles Widmore, revealing that Widmore is the man behind the freighter and the man trying to find the island. And when Locke asks, how does Widmore know about the island? Ben says, I don't know. And I wrote that he was lying because it's Ben and it's safe to assume he always is. I'm trying to remember if he actually knows what Widmore's story with the island is, what we eventually find out.
Oh boy, I can't remember either. I want to say that yes, we find out eventually that he does. However, I think it is worth noting here that the footage that he shows Locke was recorded over the Red Sox winning that he showed Jack at the beginning of season 3 to prove to him that they had access to the outside world. World Series. That was the phrase I was looking for. I was like, sports.
The championship tournament.
The
thing.
baseball
The big
thing.
game.
Yeah, there we go. The big game. And this is where I put is disappearing like a ninja part of the others training camp. I don't know. I don't remember why I put it so late. Did somebody else?
It might have just gotten, like as we were typing things.
This is
get
the
caught.
downside of us all sharing a note, is that sometimes one of us will be typing something that bumps the other person's thing down like 8 lines.
Yeah. Like one of my few contributions to this episode's notes is this just feels like our first filler episode, not just of the season, which is what I wrote down, but thinking about it, it's really our first filler episode, it feels like, since like Hurley and Sawyer were having a ping pong championship on the beach. Like the last third of season 3 was so strong and like balls to the wall, moving the plot forward. Season 4 started off hot, and now we get here and everything really just kind of grinds to a halt so that we can find out about Juliet's affair and how Ben is, or used to be, or kind of sort of still is in love with her. It's just so uninteresting.
And it's weird because the present day plot, which is, we need to race to stop Charlotte and Faraday before they get to this place that we find out, is basically the center of the nerve gas distribution center that the others used to wipe out the Dharma Initiative originally. So, that's a big deal. That's a thing that could be a huge threat to the island. And we eventually find out that Charlotte and Faraday are just trying to render the gas inert. They're not trying to release it. They're just trying to make sure Ben can't use it. And Juliet has to decide if she agrees that Ben is so untrustworthy that, and it should be more exciting. But again, we just talked about how last episode we care about Desmond and Penny. And so that emotional core brings that whole thing together. And here, there's just not that human heart. You can shout like, oh no, like, Daniel's got to type the numbers fast enough before the red thing hits the top of the graphic indicator. But it's just kind of the writers like shouting at you, this is important, this is serious, but without the feeling behind it. Yeah, it's all filler. Even if it should matter, like you describe it, it sounds high stakes and important and tied into the continuity, but yeah, it's just not really there. And I think the thing that also just gets to me is we do see a scene where in the flashback, Ben has Juliet over for dinner and clearly led her to believe that it was going to be a big group gathering because she brings like a whole bowl full of bread rolls. And in fact, it's just the 2 of them. And she's clearly uncomfortable and he's being really friendly and forward in a way that's unsettling, but also Michael Emerson almost seems like he's kind of trying a little too hard, but this version of Ben just isn't as interesting to play as the manipulative, deceiver that we're so used to. That, yeah, Ben being a creep who just, is obsessed with a pretty girl just... Again, I talked about the writers trying to make him too big in his manipulations, but this makes him too small. It's just the wrong direction. Yeah,
I put in the notes that snubbed stalker Ben is less than master manipulator Ben. It's just so much less interesting.
And I think the writers agreed with that because I don't think him being attracted to Juliet or the idea that Jack is in danger because Ben will kill the men that Juliet is involved with, I don't think that ever comes into play again. Like, nothing. I don't.
No, I'm pretty sure they dropped the Ben has been in love with Juliet thing after this episode.
Which I'm glad. I mean, I know this whole season got crunched by the writer's strike, so apparently they've given a lot of interviews where they talked about things they hoped to do or episodes that got left on the cutting room floor just because they didn't have the real estate for it. But some of them sounded a lot more interesting than this one.
Yeah.
One theory that's kind of interesting. We never find out how Ben could have given Harper could have found out what Charlotte and Faraday were doing or told Harper to go tell Juliet, how he could have arranged all of this. But I read one theory that actually says we never see Harper after this point. We don't know that she's still alive on the island or anything else. So if something had befallen her and she was now a corpse on the island somewhere, then in theory, another being who might know what everybody on the island is doing, who likes manipulating people, who likes taking forms, the idea that maybe the Man in Black decided he was going to try to use Juliet to stop Faraday and Charlotte, leaving the gas as an option for Ben to use.
Yeah, it would have been
much prefer that.
Yeah, it would have been a convenient way to kill all of the candidates and get around the loophole that the Man in Black himself can't do it.
I don't think there's anything that like backs this up, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh, that's actually it's a theory that makes sense, and it explains her quick disappearing ability.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
she's a ghost, not a ninja.
Possibly. And this is not the first time or the last time that the Man in Black would have manipulated Ben into killing somebody for him.
Nope.
Jack and I know I've done this bit to death, but you know what? I'm going to keep doing it because fuck you. That's why. Jack and Juliet finally kiss at the end of this episode after
Yay.
a full season and a half of flirting, and surely that is going to be the final nail in the love quadrangle between the two of them and Kate and Sawyer, right, guys?
Yeah.
Right, guys?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
That doesn't really get dead and buried till season 5 when the writers discover a leg of this quadrangle that they didn't even, that nobody would have predicted. But oh my gosh, Sawyer and Juliet, this is something people are actually invested in? What?
Yeah, it's weird how that works. I didn't put it in the notes, but if you're a Shakespeare nerd out there, the idea of having a station on the island, on a magical island called the Tempest, is a fun little shout out there for you. The three of us were all involved in a production of The Tempest last summer, which is actually how we came together to do this show. It was during rehearsals for The Tempest that Robert and Cara came to me with this idea of doing a Lost podcast. So shout out to Billy Shakes, I guess, and The Tempest. I joked that there should have been a character that came out of the forest named Ariel. The writers really missed a golden opportunity there. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. We had a pretty good episode, a great episode, and a meh episode. It made for a weird watch, but hey, we got Scotch and the Constant out of it, so there's that. A couple of relevant dates around this time period. It was on October 9th, 2004, 21 years ago, that Tabula Rasa aired. That's episode 103 on October 12th, 2005. So almost 20 years ago. Everyone Hates Hugo, season 2, episode 4.
That was my 3-year anniversary.
Oh,
Aww.
shit.
Yeah.
And then October 11th, 2006, 19 years ago, The Glass Ballerina, episode 302. And then we're going to have to wait for January for the next 3 seasons to get some relevant dates again.
Ooh.
How unlucky we were back in 2007.
Yep. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. Robert, social media or a thing that you're doing right now?
A thing that I am doing, let's see. I'm enjoying an audiobook called Differently Morphous by Ben Croshaw. He's a British writer, also a video game critic, which is how I first met him. But he wrote a fantasy novel about basically eldritch abominations finding their way into modern-day England, and the government department that's been trying to keep them contained for several hundred years, getting discovered by the real government and then getting modernized into into the government bureaucracy. So it's a fun fantasy romp.
Nice.
Cara, what about you?
So I am listening to a historical, a nonfiction book, of course, and it is basically the what history is Game of Thrones based on. So it's something about Ice and Fire or whatever Game of Thrones. I don't know I forget what it's called.
Song
That's
of Ice
terrible.
and Fire.
Yes, and so basically it's here's what it was in actual history, and here's how that became what it was in Game of Thrones. It's really very interesting. I'm learning some things I wish I didn't know anymore, but now I do. So, yeah, but I'm really enjoying that. I think it's been long enough since I've watched Game of Thrones that I've kind of made up with it, I guess. I still just pretend the last season never happened.
Yeah, that's fair. And House of the Dragon has been good enough to kind of redeem the end of Game of Thrones. Not completely, but I'll never go back and watch Game of Thrones again, unfortunately. But I am enjoying House of the Dragon. Whenever we finally
leave off that last season, it's good.
Yeah, whenever we finally fucking get it again, I'm really tired of these TV shows going on like 2 or 3 year hiatuses between seasons. Back when something like Lost, we got a season a year.
Yeah.
Well, they just announced that Apple TV series with Gary Oldman, Slow Horses. It's just about to release its, I think, 7th season. And I was like, 7 seasons? Whoa, how long has it been on? About 7 years. It's weird how that I didn't go there intuitively at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like The Bear, a season a year since 2022. Every time that actually happens for a show, it's crazy. People online have loved to point out we're finally getting the last season of Stranger Things.
What are they, 30?
Basically, yeah. That's starting in November. So this will be 9 years of Stranger Things. The entirety of The Bear, all 4 seasons, have come out since the last season of Game of Thrones aired. Or not Game of Thrones, Stranger Things.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
Uh-huh. Stranger Things, the last season was in 2022, which is also when The Bear started, and has now aired 4 fucking seasons.
Oh my God.
This is the great advantage that like network and cable TV have over streaming. If they're smart enough in how they press it, just you can give people something and promise them they'll have more of it in like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, it's weird how that works.
Yep.
It's probably the reason that like the Law and Orders and the CSIs and the NCISs are all like the highest rated shows on television, even if people don't talk about them as like, oh, this is the big defining work of art. No, it's just something that like 50 million people watch every year.
And have for the last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, in fact, once we're done with Lost, we're going to start SVU from the beginning and watch the entire thing.
No, we have to just go regular Law and Order because I want to like watch the episodes with Jerry Orbach.
Law and Order SVU is now old enough that Christopher Maloney would not yell at me for dating it.
That's true. He wouldn't.
I'm sorry. Did I say Law and Order SVU? I meant NCIS.
Oh, no. I don't want to watch that.
Well, for me, I've got a twofer here. Because it's spooky month and I love Stephen King, I'm rereading It, about halfway through that, still working my way through it. But a social media plug, because like I alluded to, I finally made that Instagram account for us to promote this show.
Yay.
After our last one kind of went dormant after Shelby Death Ray Patterson had a child. So you can follow us on Instagram now at Long Walk Podcasts. I'm going to try really fucking hard to keep up with social media this time because I'm not always great at it. But if you would like to keep up with the Long Walk Productions, you can visit us online at longwalk.us. To see more of our original work or hear past episodes that are no longer streaming, you can follow the YouTube links in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening, and if you enjoy this show, please make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening on.